Torah Life Ministries come out of the world. Messiah people seek the truth.
But I do understand, and I want to say this to you in the most humble way as possible. Not expecting you to understand this, but please listen, ladies. The purity of your motive does not cancel the effect of your appearance. When you do something, you may have the purest heart as possible. But we can't say, well, he's got to get his mind out of the gutter. Well, you got to stop dressing like a woman of the gutter. You know, you have to understand your motive might be as pure as possible. But a man is visual. And that's what's going to get him. So maybe you're dressing fine, but if you're bringing around women that aren't, you're causing him to stumble. You're creating a challenge for him. We have to look at these issues and we have to see exactly what's happening. We have habit versus addiction, and they're not the same thing. A habit is when we do something on a regular basis that we enjoy. When we find that it's bad for us, we break that habit. However, an addiction is when we do something on a regular basis that we enjoy, and we find that it's bad for us, we make excuses to keep living within that addiction. We need to change our addictions to habits and break them. Everyone say break them.
Break them.
Now say it with enthusiasm.
Break them.
Very good. That's what we have to do. We have to look at this, Proverbs 30:20. This is how an unfaithful wife behaves. She eats, wipes her mouth, and says, I did nothing wrong. Because of this pride issue today, we all tend to get defensive. It's not my fault. I didn't do anything wrong. That didn't come from me. That came right from the scriptures. I didn't do anything wrong. You're just as responsible if your actions are causing somebody to stumble, if you're not following his plan. Now, if you're dressed appropriately and acting appropriately, that's a different story. But if you're not dressing according to the way Scripture says, and you're causing somebody to stumble, you're just as guilty as that person. We have to help each other. And we have to do our best to try not to cause somebody to stumble. And I can tell you, when I'm out there and about there, you know, I see and talk to everyone. I talk to the men telling me how, you know, the struggles they have if they're in a congregation and somebody's dressed inappropriately dancing around. How it takes their focus off Yahweh's worship and all this other stuff. And how the congregation leader will tell me, I know it's a problem in my congregation, but I can't do anything about it because this or that or this issue. We have to understand, and we have to stand up, and we have to say, this is the way Yahweh wanted it. We can't just go by our feelings and so on. As I say, men and women think different. Women need to understand that it says it clearly in Proverbs 31:30. Charm can lie, beauty can vanish, but a woman who fears Yahweh should be praised. A woman who fears Yahweh should be praised. We're just going to look now how what's accepted as normal today, that's just 100 years ago. And I'm all into studying from the period from 1850 to 1920. My favorite time in history, from 1850 to 1920. And we just look at now how the modesty issue has become so accepted today or unaccepted today. In 1890, swimwear was first modified and became street clothing. In 1850. 1910 is when women started to rip off their sleeves and their arms were exposed. We go on, 1920. You'd be arrested in 1920 if you wore a bathing suit that the average woman wears on the beach today. Arrested and thrown in jail. 1920s is when bathing suits started to come out, slowly but surely in the 1930s, where more of the legs and the backs were starting to be exposed. And it goes on to fabrics in the 40s being so skin tight, it revealed the shape of a woman. Then it goes on to the 60s, where women started to reveal their belly buttons and their waist and everything else. And today, anything is pretty much accepted as normal. And somebody's considered odd, and something's wrong with somebody if they're covering up their body. I say that we need to understand there are people out there in this world that have misguided faith, but we need to be jealous of their actions. You look at the way some of the people of other faiths dress and live. You know, we should be ashamed that we can't stand to the standard that our Creator told us to give. You have to understand it's a passion issue. It comes down to obedience. That's what I tell people. I don't teach about diet. I don't teach about dress. I don't teach about modesty. I teach about obedience. You have to love Yahweh's word more than you love the taste of certain foods, more than you love the latest fashions, more than you love all these things. You have to love his word more than any of that. It's where your passion is. Some people say, well, I'm not disciplined enough to live so set apart or be so against the world. We're all disciplined people for where our passion truly is. What exactly is immodest dress? Well, I can go and give you a big list and all this, but I don't even have to do that. I'll simply tell you 3 things. 3 things to think about for women. And for men, because you shouldn't be looking at a woman dressed like this. But I understand if you can't help it, because we're designed a certain way. 3 things. Number 1, and I have a whole list of this, but I'm going to get right to the point. It's 3 things. No cleavage, no dyes, and don't expose your waist and your belly button. And hide the shape of your body. 4 things. That's how good I count. Those 4 things. You could pick just about any magazine up in any store today. And if you look at those 4 things I just mentioned, you could probably find over 100 different pictures of women revealing, if not all, one of those things I just mentioned. And those things, it's proven on every test, every level, every account, that these are things that men are attracted to, so much so, the most humble man with the spirit of Yahweh inside him can be led away from his family by these things right here. Pastors with the biggest mega churches in the world can be led away from their congregation, their families, and everything else by these things right here. We have to understand, not only is it in these magazines, it's in the churches. It's in the congregations. As congregation leaders and congregation people, we need to see somebody come in our congregation like that, and I'm never going to tell anyone what to lead. Maybe it's their first time there and they don't know better. But if they're there a second time, they got to dress a certain way or get out. And even if it's their first time, they got to cover up. You know? And ladies, you need to be talking to women about this. The women that don't know this. And I'd like to say the older ladies need to be speaking to the younger ladies, but sadly I can't say that because many times the other way around. A great blog I recommend you all check out is called A Pondering Heart. A Pondering Heart by this young girl from Indiana who has a wonderful blog that talks about these issues, and you can see exactly what men and women are saying about this. Now don't get upset at me, this is just the way it is, and this is just what's happening out there today. But I grew up in the city, and I know what it is to see people dressed in modesty as I was growing up, being out at nighttime, seeing women going to the clubs. People go to work like that today. You know, people that's considered pretty much, the way women work out in clothes today is pretty much nakedness. And men, we don't have an excuse either, because Yahweh covered Adam and Eve. And women are being led away in the same ways. So we have to look at this from every avenue here. Now, I want to go over some things here that directly affect our health when it comes to this modesty issue. But, do you promise everyone in this room, first of all, do I have your permission to step on your toes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. I haven't even got close yet. I haven't even started. I'm just getting warmed up. Okay. Well, I'm not overweight and I don't wear high heels, so it won't be too bad. So, all right. So, before I do this, don't get upset at me, but understand this is just some of the things the way it is. Remember, too, James 4:17 again. We all know what that is now, right? To know sin and not to do it to him it is. To know sin and not to do it to him it is sin. To know good and not to do it to him it is sin. So before I say these things, you don't have to take responsibility. You could leave right now. So then you won't know what I'm about to say. You won't be held accountable. Okay. Well, you've made a vow saying you're not going to get upset, and we know what comes along with breaking a vow, so thank you. Okay. The first one we want to look at is the ways men are being led away and the things that women are doing on an average day, which even some men are doing now. This first one even started from men. Men were the first people to do this. One of the most unhealthiest things we can do for our body is clog up our skin and our pores with some of the most deadly toxins known to man. And if you're a believer and you're wearing these things, you're not a believer because it's not kosher, is makeup. Spiritually, emotionally, and physically, makeup is not part of Yahweh's plan, and we should not be wearing makeup. Now, I'm not going to say immediately everyone should be wearing it. Makeup, if used at all, should be a natural type of makeup, not the unhealthy makeups that are found in a store. But if somebody is trying to cover up a scar, that's one thing. But if somebody is using it for vanity, that's another thing. And it's one or the other. There's no gray areas with this. You know, and women, don't tell me you wear makeup for your husband because you're not getting up 2 hours before them in the morning to put on makeup. But this is what's happening. There's this spirit of competition in the world, where women have a humble spirit and they say, well, I'm not doing it to attract men, but I am doing it to compete with other women to some level or some degree. Yahweh made us a certain way.
Come out of the world, oh my people.